Every year, Pokemon TCG Live replaces its old set of starter decks with a new round of starter decks. The 2024 lineup is here, and it is fantastic. I'm Jeff from InThirdPerson.com. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about the starter decks in Pokemon TCG Live for the 2024 season. For context, in 2023, we got this assortment of decks, and I will say this was pretty disappointing, even compared to the year before, where we had stuff like Urshifu, Shadow Rider, Ice Rider, and so on. This lineup is not great. Giratina VSTAR is the standout. You could get some cool pieces from Dialga VSTAR and Palkia. You could pair the Regieleki with the Miraidon that was in the Battle Pass at the time, but this lineup was not particularly strong outside of Giratina. Now contrast this to the starter decks in 2024, and it's absolutely nuts. We're getting Charizard EX, Chien-pao, Goldengo, Giratina, Zoroark, Lugia, Mewtwo EX, and Roaring Moon EX. And just to give you like some context, further context on how good these decks are, here's a tier list from the post-rotation format in Japan. Shoutouts to Omnipoke that compiled this based on results from City League tournaments after Champions League. And basically almost every single top tier deck is represented between the starter decks and the Battle Pass decks, which are basically free as well. And you're not too far off of building some of the other ones. Like you get some pieces for an Arceus Giratina deck. You get, Arceus Vulpix theoretically. Even Ancient Box with some of the Roaring Moon stuff isn't that far off. But like you're getting the top 6 decks here, plus stuff from the other tiers as well. Absolutely phenomenal work, Pokemon. And for another perspective, here's the most recent Pokébook tier list, and we're getting almost everything in the top tiers. So this is an absolutely phenomenal way to start off the post-rotation era. And if you're looking to play the Pokemon TCG in 2024, Pokemon TCG Live is a fantastic place to do it, in the sense that you are getting almost every top deck, at least to start out in this post-rotation era. Let's start with the Charizard deck. We're not going to go like super deep into detail on what we got here, but we will go and poke at these lists a little bit. For example, we've got the 4-2-3 line of Charizard, and some people may want to mess with the Charmander counts and put in some different Charmanders. Some might even want to mess with the Charmeleons. This one is the one with the Veil ability, so it can get damaged on the bench. There's some other ones that do decent attacks, and we're getting 3 Charizard EX, which is great. We also are getting the Pidgeot line, and this is fantastic. Pidgeot has been the go-to draw engine for Charizard, and we're getting that here. You may have seen, if you're following the Japanese scene closely, that the Bibarel line has also been popular in Charizard, and we're getting Bibarel in another deck here. So if you want to swap it out with Bibarel, you totally can, but we're getting a 2-2-2 line of Pidgeot, which is fantastic. Most people would probably take out the Pidgeotto, but it's not bad being here. We do have Radiant Charizard as well, which is a card that we do see in Charizard decks, also see in Lost Box. So if you wanted to play a single prize Sablezard deck, you totally could, especially since we're getting the Lost Zone Giratina deck here as well. And kind of the odd duck here is this Moltres, but it's kind of filler. We don't have to worry about it. You can take it out when you customize. We do have a Manaphy here. There's also a Jirachi in some of the other lists. So in order to not double up too much, like you're going to have the card anyway. If you want to put Jirachi in here for that bench protection along with Manaphy, you totally can. We do see some other new cards such as the Buddy Buddy Poffin. I think it's just that. So Buddy Buddy Poffin to help set up your basic Pokemon. Decent counts. Yeah, 4 Rare Candy, 4 Ultra Ball, Nest Balls. We do have a heavy count of TM evolutions here, which is nice, and a Defiance Belt or Defiance Band as well. I think that's the Defiance Band. And then, yeah, Quad Arvin, decent lineup of trainer cards, and maybe a little too much energy, to be honest, but like this is really close to what a tournament level Charizard deck looks like. You can totally rock with this without any changes and do really well. The only thing I would really add is an A spec, which none of these decks have. So that's something that you will want to invest in with your Pokemon TCG Live credits. But this list is absolutely phenomenal as a place to start. Chien-pao also looks awesome. One of the top decks going into the post-rotation format. We get 3 Chien-pao, we get the 3/1/3 line of Baxcalibur. It's great. They even gave us the, I mean, it's the 2 retreat Frigibacks. We don't get the single retreat for Frigibacks, which is a little annoying, but that's fine. They're common cards. They're easy to get. We get the 2/2 Bibero line, which also works in Charizard or some other decks that are here as well. Just an amazing draw engine in general. Lumineon V is really great for grabbing a supporter. Mew EX we normally don't see in Chien-pao, but it's a nice little draw engine for the deck, and you can use it as an attacker as well in this deck, having Baxcalibur power it up with water energy. We're getting a Radiant Greninja here as well, so if you don't happen to have that already, or you're just starting out the game, this is one of the best Pokemon in the game, so fantastic inclusion here. In terms of new cards, we've got the Buddy Buddy Poffin. We have a Morty's Conviction here as well, where you discard 1 and draw equal to the number of Pokemon your opponent has, I think, on the bench. So you can draw up to 5 cards. And that's just like a really nice way of drawing cards, seeing a bunch of cards while also getting some discard synergy in there as well. And otherwise, the list is pretty solid. We've got our energy retrievals here, some Lost Vacuums. I don't know if we need these as much since Path to the Peak is no longer in the format, but Lost Vacuum in general is just an amazing card, so I'm not going to complain about getting a couple of those as well. A couple Super Rods, Iridas, Iono, some Professor Turo Scenario. I'm not really sure. I guess you could use that to get the Lumineon off the board, and that's just a good card in general, so I don't mind it being here, even if it's not necessarily the best fit for a Turo Scenario. And 9 Energy, really strong list. Overall, definitely you're gonna have to make some tweaks here and there, but like amazing foundation. Generally speaking, Goldengo is a great choice as a starter deck. However, this build is a little odd. 4/4 Gimme Ghoul Goldengo is fantastic. I love that the Buddy Buddy Poffin is here, as well as Cryptomaniac's Deciphering, which is a fantastic card in this particular deck. Helps you grab the superior energy retrievals, put them to the top, and then draw into them with Goldengo. However, we also get the Kirlia engine here, which I think was also the case when we got Goldengo as a Battle Pass deck. And unfortunately, this is just not the best in terms of synergy for Goldengo. I would like to see Palkia here. Even single prize attackers like Scissor would be nice here, but this is a good draw engine in general. And if you wanted to build, say, Gardevoir, then the Kirlia engine is totally fine. Otherwise, yeah, this is a pretty solid lineup of cards that you would want in a Goldengo deck. Maybe I would swap out the Capturing Aroma with some Nest Balls, and then Tulip and Lady. I don't necessarily think you need Lady, but it does get you 4 energy, which is one of the challenges with this deck, is getting the energy so that you can swing big. But yeah, and Tulip's a little odd as well, but I get it. Lets you recover Psychic Pokemon or Psychic Energy, and you can use that to power up Goldengo's attack as well. So it's Goldengo's a great Pokemon. You can build around this to make it very strong. However, it is missing a couple of pieces here, and it's got the wrong draw engine, but it's not too hard to fix. Making its return as a starter deck is Giratina VSTAR, and I'm glad they brought this back because Giratina VSTAR continues to be one of the best decks in the game going forward. And we have a really solid lineup here of cards. The Pokemon counts look to be on point. You can add a Jirachi here to protect the bench if you really wanted to from damage counters. We have a nice number of switch cards, Nest Balls, which we probably want to run a bit more of because we need those to get our Giratina down. There's no Greninja in this list, but because we get Greninja in some of the other ones, it's pretty easy to get Greninja back in here. And then we also have some of the other essentials like the Jet Energy and Colress's Experiment. Beach Court's not bad here as well, making it a little easier for your Comfeys to move around. I do notice there's no emergency board here as well. That's a pretty easy include, but as a foundation, this Giratina deck is fantastic. Zoroark V-Star is a odd choice. but it's actually a pretty decent build of the deck, to be honest. Zoroark VSTAR has the potential to one-shot pretty much everything in the game, though it's a little inconsistent with its game plan. However, the inclusion of Dodrio here does help out a lot, helping you draw cards while also taking damage to your Pokemon, helping to boost Zoroark's attack. We do have the Gengar, which can help you get damaged Pokemon on the board. We also have the Jirachi here, which you can put into your other decks to protect against damage counters as well. Pretty good lineup of trainer cards here. I do love that Cypher Maniac's Code Breaking is here. The Capturing Aroma is a little odd, but I guess to get more opportunities to get the right Pokemon out, so I can't necessarily hate on that. Gen Energy is nice here as well, along with Gape Shot Bog and the damage pump to move that damage around your Pokemon so that you are getting as many Pokemon on your bench damage as possible so that Zoroark can hit big. Lugia is poised to make a comeback post-rotation, and I'm so glad to see Lugia here. And however, it's a little bit of an odd build. We are getting 3/3 Lugia, which is good. We're getting the 4 Archeops, but they made some choices here. The biggest one is the exclusion of Cinccino. Now, Cinccino is an amazing attacker in this deck, can do pretty much one-shot anything in the game, and it's not that hard to do it. However, we don't get any of the Mincinos or Cincinos here, which is fine. You can get those for pretty cheap because they're basic. I mean, they're commons and they're common and uncommon cards, so it's not that big of a deal. Instead, we get the Bibarel line, which is an odd inclusion. Snorlax is a regular card in colorless Lugia. We do see the Luxray, which does appear in Lugia from time to time as well. And we do see the Explorer's card. This is actually kind of a interesting tech here because there are no ancient Pokemon in this deck. However, we can use this as an opportunity to discard Archeops, as it lets you look at the top, I think, 6 cards of your deck, take 2 and then discard the other 4. So an opportunity to dig deep in your deck and discard Archeopses that way. Mewtwo EX is probably the worst deck of the bunch, but it's still better than most of the decks we got last year. At the very least, it's a lot of fun. Xatu helps you attach energy and draw a ton of cards. Mewtwo EX with a bunch of energy on the board can one-shot anything in the game. And Arceus is kind of a weird inclusion here, but I get it. Its V-Star power helps you grab 2 cards of your choice, and it can help you set up. And then it's not a bad attacker as well, though you won't be able to attach any... I guess you could attach energy to the Enamorus, although the Enamorus is not a great attacker. That is here primarily for its ability, where it protects all your Pokemon with Psychic Energy against your opponent's abilities, like say Halucha's drop kick move or whatever, where it would drop damage counters on your bench. You can protect against that as long as they've got damage counters, or as long as they have the Psychic Energy on them. Now, you actually can accelerate with Arceus. You can accelerate to the Enamorus, getting you an extra 3 energy on the board to then power up Mewtwo. So that's actually kind of interesting synergy there. The trainer lineup is good as well. We do get the Buddy Poffins. Earthen Vessel is a nice card to have in your collection. We got the emergency boards here, so you can actually put that into your Giratina VSTAR Lost Box deck. Cypher Maniac's Code Breaking is here as well. I really like it. Moonlit Hill's a little bit of an odd inclusion here because you're not necessarily tanking hits with this deck, but I don't necessarily mind it here. The last deck we're going to look at is Roaring Moon. And Roaring Moon ended the last format as a top tier deck. I think it's going to slip a little bit post-rotation. However, it's still shaping up to be one of the stronger decks in the game. And we have some really good pieces to work with here, including 4 Roaring Moon EX, the single prize Roaring Moon, which is a new card, and it can potentially one-shot everything in the game if you get enough ancient cards into your discard pile. Thankfully, this build has a ton of ancient cards, including both Roaring Moons, Brute Bonnet, Ancient Capsule, this Explorer Adventure card, I cannot remember the name of it, Sada's Vitality, Earthen Vessel, so lots of opportunities to boost the damage on this Roaring Moon. If you want to run the poison strategy, we've got the Brute Bonnet with the Capsule, with Radiant Sneasler. Squawkabilly EX can help us draw cards, and then we've got a lot of these staples for Roaring Moon, including Dark Patch, Earthen Vessel, Trekking Shoes, and Pokestop, helping us dig through our deck incredibly quickly. And there's a look at the 8 starter decks we're getting in Pokemon TCG Live. Again, hats off to Pokemon for the choices of decks. I think they did a phenomenal job this year. These are, again, a lot of top tier decks to work with here that are probably going to maintain its standing throughout the... I can imagine a lot of these decks being still good when we are talking about the new starter decks next year. So Pokemon did an awesome job. And if you're looking to play Pokemon TCG Live and you have nothing so far, this is an amazing time to start because you're getting so many good cards for free and you're not necessarily going to have to grind to upgrade any of these to be top tier versions of themselves. So hats off to Pokemon for an awesome round of starter decks for everyone to enjoy. But for now, I gotta get going. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Rotation Day. Happy Temporal Forces Day in Pokemon TCG Live. Rotation for in-person play is going to be in a couple of weeks, but on Pokemon TCG Live, we're going to be playing with the new cards right now, which is probably what I'm going to do as soon as I'm done this. So let's get out of here. You can find me on all the things: YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at @InThirdPerson. You can find me on Twitch at @InThirdPerson, where I stream the Pokemon trading card game every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And check out the website, inthirdperson.com, for more articles and videos on video games, board games, and other nerdy pursuits. So until the next one, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.